By what name are you known?
There are some who call me Tim.
Welcome to another episode of Timmy Talks, the channel where we talk old school magic. And we are back today in Roosendaal, the Netherlands, for the Dutch Open. And this is a tournament that I never want to miss. I always put it in my agenda every single year because this is the X Points tournament organized by the man himself, by the inventor of the format, Louis. So Louis, thank you once again for inviting me over. And maybe it's nice to tell you a little bit about the history of X Points, because I remember when, Louis, in the early stages of the format, I believe, was this 2021, 2020 maybe, when you discussed it with me, and you discussed it with a lot of people from the old school community, of course, and you asked for their feedback, and you said, I want to make this new old school format where there's, a point system, it's more balanced, and yada, yada, yada. And to be honest, I was pretty negative about the idea because we already have and had in those days as well so many different rule sets and ways to play the game. And I said, well, Louis, I think it's about with who you play, not the rules that you play by. But I admit it, Louis, I was wrong because look at it now. X Points is huge. People enjoy it. I enjoy it. I think it's a very cool and balanced format. And that's also one of the reasons that from the start, when you started and you showed me the first points list and, people started playing it and I saw the decks, I started to put content out there here on the channel to support X Points, and I'm quite proud to, have been part of that growth and see where X Points is now. So well done, Louis, and of course also a big thumbs up to the people who are organizing it right now. Every single month there is still a monthly online tournament that you can join for free. So if you want to join the fun, check out the description below. I'll put some links to their Facebook group and all the other groups, and you can check it out there. You can find your way. So if X Points is your thing, or if you're thinking about joining X Points, my advice is please do. It's a really fun format. Now today we're at the Dutch Open. This is a round one match, and in this round one we've got two really cool people playing really cool decks. We've got Buddy, who is playing Mono Red Disco, and he's playing cards like Hurl Jackal, and I mean, I'm just a fan. The deck photo looks beautiful, and I'm really looking forward to kind of, show you this deck. And he is taking on Wouter, and Wouter is playing a pink mid-range deck, so that is red and white. Now, before I jump into the deck decks, first I would like to tell you something about my Patreon page. Aye, me hearties. If you would like to support the show, you can become a patron at patreon.com/Timmy Talks. We have 3 different patron levels. You can join as an apprentice for just $1 a month. And this will give you access to the Timmy Talks Discord, and you can join in on all the Timmy Talks online tournaments, such as the Color Clash and the Reprint Masters. You can also become a supporter at the Sorcerer level for just $2 a month. When you are a Sorcerer, your name will be mentioned in the end scroll, and if you want, you can play a game against, well, me. But there is more. If you become a supporter at the Pirate level, we can even make an episode together. Aye! Haha! You can also choose to pay annually for a 10% discount. So what are you waiting for, me hearty? Visit patreon.com/Timmy Talks and join the Timmy Talks crew. Arr! And we are back and ready to dive into the deck decks. We're going to start with the player on the left, that is Wouter. Let's take a look at his deck. And here we see the deck of Wouter, so I've called it pink mid-range and not pink weenie. Why? Well, for the simple reason that when you look at the creature base, it's almost pink sly. I should call it pink sly, shouldn't I? I mean, when you look at the creature base, it really works its way up like a staircase. We've got the 1-drop Savannah Lions, the 2-drop Ironclaw Orcs, the 3-drop we've got Granite Gargoyle, and then we're missing the 4-drop, okay, but fair enough. We've got a 5-drop, a very powerful Serra Angel. So it really kind of adds up. So I think it's not your weenie standard deck, right? Your pink weenie deck. This is really more a mid-range build, or like I said just now, a sly build. You could argue that as well. Let me know in the comments. Would you call this pink mid-range or pink sly? Let me know. And then of course we see the usual suspects, right? If you're playing white and red, you're gonna play Lightning Bolt, right? You're not an idiot. You're gonna play Disenchant. You're gonna play Swords. You're gonna play, of course, Balance. You're gonna play those cards, which is quite nice. I also think it's hard to identify all the cards here, but I think we also see some Armageddons. Again, Armageddon is such a good way to lock the game, especially in X Points, where because of the point system, you're not going to see as many Moxen. So you don't have all those decks that have all 5 Moxen, and kind of power you out and you play an Armageddon. It doesn't do much because of the Moxen. In X Points, in my opinion, cards like Vice, cards like Armageddon, they are better because of the lack of Moxen, so you get a different dynamic in the game, which is quite interesting. Then if we look at the third row, we see, of course, Blood Moon being quite good when you play this. We see City in a Bottle, a single one main. I think City in a Bottle is also really good in this format. Also in most old school formats, City in a Bottle can be really a killer against a lot of decks. And in old school, I've noticed we see a lot of Urnum Djinns, also because it's been reprinted, so it's very budget friendly to play. And of course, City in a Bottle is great against those Urnum Djinns. You don't see Library of Alexandria that much in the X Points format, so City in a Bottle is not that good against it, but of course you do see City of Brass a lot. So again, City in a Bottle has a lot of targets it can work with. Talking about City of Brass, Wouter is playing with City of Brass as well, but only with 2. I think 2 or 3 is really kind of the max you want to go with this land. Some people play 4 and, for example, also play a Sylvan and also play a Surrender Befried, and then you end up really hurting yourself more than maybe you want to with your deck. Of course, if you play a Suicide Strategy, that's a different story. If the games are raced for you and you want to win it in the first couple of turns, it's fine. But when you play more mid-range like this, for example, it's really good to not play too many cities, because before you know it, you start burning yourself more than you really want to do with your deck. There is also a little bit of life gain in the sideboard. That's good. We've got Divine Offering in the side. We've got Spirit Link in the side. So there's a little bit of life gain. We also see some Earthquakes in the side. So I guess if he boards those in, maybe he boards out the Savannah Lines. Who knows? And of course, Earthquake is quite good against those green decks. But today, I think Earthquake will not be boarded in, because today he's playing against Buddy. And Buddy has quite an interesting deck. It's called Red Disc. Let's take a look at his list. And here we see the deck of Buddy, and I mean, I love this deck. Look at the deck photo, it's so cool. So, I mean, he's built a deck, right, mono red, right, around the card Nevinyrral's Disc. So Nevinyrral's Disc, an artifact for 4, comes into play tapped. When you untap, you can pay 1, and then it pretty much blows up the board, except for lands. That's basically all, right? So, blows up enchantments, artifacts, creatures, all of that stuff. But it destroys it, meaning if you can regenerate your creature, it sticks around. So if we look at the list, we see some creatures with regeneration. We see the Ufton Troll, we see the Clay Statues. These are creatures with regeneration. We also see Rook Egg. Of course, when Rook Egg dies, you get a 4/4 flying bird token in your end step. So that's also fine to lose to the Nevinyrral's Disc. And he's also playing with Hurl Jackal. I already mentioned that in the introduction of the video. I think it's really cool. It takes away the regeneration ability. So if your opponent has a regeneration creature, the Jackal can fix it for you. It takes away regeneration, so it dies to the disc. I think it's really cool. It's very an old school, combo. It's really cool. And I know when people say, when I call things combo, people say, no, it's synergy. It's not a combo, and yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. Listen, before Hasbro, right? Before Hasbro, a combo didn't mean I win the game in 1 minute or half a minute or 10 seconds. Back in the day, my friends, a combo was simply a combination of cards, something you figured out yourself in your basement or in the attic, and then you would take it to your LGS and you would be super proud when you played it out and you thought you were the first one to invent it. Those were the days, man, and we called that a combo, and I don't care how you call it. We called it a combo. I'm going to keep calling it a combo because it's short for combination of cards, a combination of cards that work together well. So Hurl Jackal, Nevinyrral's Disc, I think it's really cool. Is it going to be useful? Probably not, but I love seeing you playing it here, buddy. Maybe you can let me know in the comments below. Did the Hurl Jackal do a lot of work for you at the Dutch Open? I would love to hear from you. And what I kind of like, to be honest, about this list is that it's not only regeneration creatures. He's also playing some other stuff like Goblin Balloon Brigade for early pressure. You're seeing the Stone Rains. I think Stone Rain is quite good. If you play against a greedy mana base, you can deal with it. If you play against Maze of Ith, you can deal with the Maze of Ith. Maze of Ith is a pain in the ass for a lot of decks, so your Stone Rains can help you with that problem. And of course, he's also playing with 2 Blood Moons, which is quite nice. And the combination Blood Moon, Stone Rain sometimes feels like an overkill, and against some decks it is an overkill. But the good thing about it is that if you play Blood Moon and you've got Stone Rains, you can use your Stone Rains to target the basic lands and then play your Blood Moon, so your opponent really can no longer play out a Disenchant, for example. Like it can really work that way. So it's quite good to see both of them here in the deck. And then, of course, we have the beautiful finisher, Shivan Dragon. I love it, man. I love Shivan. I remember, again, this is a back in the day story. Sorry, guys, I'm just being so nostalgic today. Back in the day when I got my first booster pack that I remember, and I found a clone in the uncommon slot. That's where my love for blue came from. And it has asterisk, asterisk, and it could just be any creature on the board. And the first thing I said, I asked my brother, can I now clone a Shivan Dragon? Can I have it, or can I have, I don't recall the exact wording, but it was something like, so I can now have a Shivan Dragon, something like that, because I could just clone it, and then I could also play with the Shivan, because Shivan Dragons in those days were very expensive. The chances of you pulling it out of a booster were close to zero, at least as a little Timmy. And you have to think about it. I could buy maybe one booster pack every 2 weeks. You know, I had to save up my allowance. So it was a rough day, man. I didn't have a lot of cards, and clone was the closest that I could get to having an actual Shivan Dragon. So, and then I started exploring blue more, and I found Control Magic and all the other madness, and yeah. And of course the Timmy, and I was kind of sold. But that's a different story. But looking at this list, I love seeing Shivan Dragon as a finisher. I think it's really cool. And, you know, this deck also has a lot of burn, right? We see 4 chains, 4 lightning bolts, we see a fireball, we see a fork. And actually, some people have referred to X Points as the chain format because you see a lot of burn decks in the format. I wouldn't really specify this as your standard burn deck because I think it's got a really cool game plan with the Nevinyrral's disc. I think it's really sweet. But yeah, of course, when you play red, you're going to include the burn because it can really help you finish. Of course, his opponent today, Wouter, is playing white, meaning he's playing COP red. COP red, again, can be destroyed, of course, by the Nevinyrral's disc. So I'm liking it. I'm liking this deck, buddy. I'm liking this deck. Hopefully, Hurl Jackal has been of some value to you because I think it's a beautiful creature. Love the art by Drew Tucker. And you know, it's just a really cool card. It's an old school card. I love that. I love that. Anyway, this is the deck of Buddy. We looked at the deck of Wouter. That means we are ready. Let's go to the first match of the first round of the Dutch Open 2025. Game number 1 here of the Dutch Open, round number 1. On the right, on the play, we have Buddy playing a deck called Red Disc, mono red with Nevinyrral's discs. And on the left, we have Wouter playing pink mid-range. And he's playing red and white. He's playing Savannah Lions, Ironclaw Orcs, Granite Gargoyles, and Serra Angels. And of course, all those really good spells, Lightning Bolts, Disenchant, Swords, etc. And here we see a nice answer, by the way, of Buddy here with that Desert. That's really going to stop the line. And there we see a strip mine on the desert. Buddy not activating his factory here. Could have chosen to do that as a potential blocker for the line. But then again, if you do that and Wouter would have had a swords, then all of a sudden you have no lands left. So I understand this play by Buddy, just being patient here, taking the damage. But Buddy is now facing 2 Savannah Lions. And that hand of Wouter is looking quite good with that other planes, that Disenchant in hand there, Felwar Stone, a Balance, and a Lightning Bolt. Here we see a Mountain by Buddy and just a pass. There's a Plateau that's quite good. It gives him the option to also bolt. So he's probably going to attack her with both lines. And let's see if Buddy is now going to animate his factory. That could be disastrous for him if he decides to. But look at this very disciplined Buddy taking the damage. Going to go to 14. So really being patient, doesn't want to lose the factory, and I think that's a good decision. Here we see a Felwar Stone by Wouter and a pass. So Wouter doing quite good here. Buddy already on 14. So the pressure is on him. There's another Mountain. I mean, just a simple creature like a Hurl Jackal could be quite useful, right? Because you can use it to block a lion. Hey, or a Balloon Brigade, kind of the same thing, 1/1 flyer. Well, 1/1 without flying, but for 1 red you can give it flying. The card has really cool flavor text. There's a Lightning Bolt though, destroying the Goblin Balloon Brigade. So it's in the graveyard. And look at this, a Serra Angel by Wouter. Doesn't have enough lands, of course, but that's looking really good later in the game. Attack for 4. Look at that Buddy on 10 already. Life total halved, another land here for Wouter. If he can find another mana source from the top, he can deploy that Angel next turn. And Buddy again being very disciplined, not using his factory. Tapping 4, what are we going to see? Oh, Fireball! Really nice 2 for 1 for Buddy. Very necessary as well. And that also explains his patience. He knew if I can work up to 4 mana, I can destroy both lines with 1 spell. That's exactly what he did. And look at this, just a pass by Wouter. So maybe the tables have slightly turned here. Wouter, of course, needs that 5th mana source to cast that angel in his hand. Let's see if Buddy has something here. Maybe a granite gargoyle or an Ufton troll. Or a clay statue. Gonna tap 4. Nope, gonna tap 3. Keep the Hammerheim open. Okay, oi, oi, oi. There's the Ufton troll 2/2, 1 red to regenerate. That's quite good. Of course, regeneration is not going to help you against that swords in hand. So I'm kind of expecting him to deploy the swords to plowshares here. He's going for it. Another line of play could have been, since he's on 20 still, to say, you know what? I'm going to let Buddy kind of build up. And then I'm going to use my balance. Oh, look at this Mox Pearl from the top. 5 mana. There she is. Serra Angel hitting the board. 4/4 flyer. Doesn't have to tap when she attacks. One of the best creatures in Old School Magic. And there we see a Granite Gargoyle. So 2/2 flyer, you can pay a red to give it +0/+1. So Buddy cannot make it big enough to destroy the angel. So it seems like there is a clear attack here for Wouter. Of course, one of the things to keep in mind is if Buddy also has a bolt, he can block and bolt, but that's a 2-for-1. No, he's not attacking. Personally, I think I would have attacked. Yes, maybe he's going to kill your Serra with a bolt, but it's a 2-for-1. I personally don't mind it that much. And then the bolt's also out of the hand, but that's just me. Here's a Stone Rain on the plateau. Of course, Wouter still has that Felwar Stone to make red mana. There's the pass. Okay, Savannah Lions in hand there. Not looking very good at this moment on this board. There's the attack with the Serra. There's the block. So this time Wouter decides to attack. And there's the bolt. So probably made this decision right. Because he's like, okay, if you destroy my angel, I have that Savannah Lions on backup. And he has still a disenchant in hand to take care of the factory if Buddy chooses to animate it. He's going to tap 4 here. What are we going to see for 4? Oh, there's a clay statue. So this is a 3/1. Pay 2 to regenerate. Ooh, actually, Buddy doing something else, tapping slightly different, keeping a red open and playing a Hurl Jackal. Beautiful signed copy. Now, this is an interesting moment. I feel like if you're Wouter, you can choose to disenchant the statue because he doesn't have the mana to regenerate. Or you could say, I'm going to try to get my own lines killed, right? So that my balance will become better because also he only has 3 lands. Buddy has 5 lands. I mean, I find balance can be a tricky card to play with. That's my experience at least. It would be also tempting to just disenchant here because he cannot regenerate. Exactly, there's disenchant. Taking care of the artifact creature. Another plains found. And I wonder, I mean, do you want to trade your lion for the jackal? No, you don't, just a pass. So Buddy kind of, getting back into the game. And he's still on 12, which is not that low. 2 cards in hand for him. It's kind of hard to identify that one card. I see a black bordered card and a white bordered card, but it's hard to see what they are. It's going to tap the red. Firing off the Chain Lightning on the life total here, it seems, of Wouter. That kind of surprises me. Wouter dropping to 17. Does that mean that that one card in hand there is a Wheel of Fortune? Because then it would kind of make sense, right? You want to empty your hand maybe before you wheel. Because remember, Buddy's also playing with Rook Egg. So I think I would have kept this chain in hand. Unless, of course, that there's a reason why he does it. That one card, like I said, could be maybe a wheel that he wants to cast next turn. There's the attack. He's going to trade with the Jackal. And there's the pass. Quite an interesting first game, actually. Nice to see both of these decks in action. There's now the animate, so now he is animating. And we're probably going to see that disenchant being fired off. Exactly, disenchant on the factory, and he's playing another factory. So probably decided to attack because he found another factory from the top. There's a Serra Angel. That's really a good top deck here for Wouter. 4/4 flyer again, hitting the board. Second Serra, playing with the full playset in his deck. And now Buddy has to try to come up with a solution. Gonna tap 4. There's the Rook Egg. Yeah, so right. So if he would have kept the Chain Lightning in hand, he now could have chained the Rook Egg. Right, and he would have gotten a blocker for the Serra Angel. Of course, it's easy in hindsight, you know, to look back at this and say, you should have done this, you should have done that. I understand that. But that Chain Lightning on the life total of Wouter, it still kind of puzzles me. Not quite sure why he did that. And now he's in trouble. He's on 8. Has to deal with this 4-4 flyer. Game number 1, round number 1 of the Dutch Open here. The X Points Dutch Open. Yeah, so I guess that card was a Stone Rain then, right? Playing the Stone Rain on the Plains. And Stone Rain just not that useful thus far. For Buddy, not the card you want to have at this stage in the game. There's a plateau. There's the attack for 4. It's going to drop for 4, so it seems that Buddy now needs to find an answer to the Serra, or it's game over in game 1. Can he find an answer? Fireball will do it. Nope, that's it. Giving the fist bump here to Wouter. Wouter winning game number 1 with his pink mid-range deck. And now both players are going to dive into their sideboards. And we will catch back up with them in game number 2. Game number 2, here we go. So Wouter won the first game. Look at his hand, by the way. 2 Circle of Protection Reds in there. Oh, this is going to be tough for Buddy. Buddy, of course, on the play, starting with a mountain, passing the turn. There's a Disenchant from the top. There's a Mishra's Factory. Lots of glare, unfortunately, on that factory, but it is a Mishra's Factory. Also a Mishra's Factory for Buddy here. There's the Plateau. It's going to play out the Plateau. So I guess he can tap both here to play a COP red if he wants to. Also has Disenchant in hand, so could also decide not to attack and maybe wait for Buddy to animate his factory. There we see a Circle of Protection red. So Buddy has an open attack here with the Mishra's Factory. If he wants to. Let's see what he can do. Could also choose to play out another land, attack, and then... Okay, there's a Chain Lightning. Putting Wouter on 17. There's a pass, missing a land drop. And also, I'm a little bit surprised about this Chain Lightning. Again, I think I would have animated the factory and attack because you had a clean free attack. You could have put Wouter on 18. It's only 1 point difference. You could have kept your chain. But Buddy decided otherwise. There's the attack of Wouter here with his Mishra's Factory. And Buddy now on 18. Wouter on 17. Let's see if Buddy can, find a land. He is going to animate an attack here. Pretty risky because you can run into a Bolt or a Swords. But luckily for Buddy, that's not the case. So he can get an attack in. Wouter dropping to 15. Both players stuck on lands. There's an Armageddon for Wouter. And Wouter's also stuck. 7 cards in hand, I believe. 2 Serra Angels, Armageddon, 2 Disenchants, COP red, and a red card there that I cannot really identify. He's going to tap a red here. Going to animate. He's going to put Buddy here on 16. There's another mountain from the top. I wonder if Buddy's going to animate an attack again. Is he going to take that risk again? I think I would after last turn. Because, yeah, maybe he top decked the Bolt or something. But, it's tempting to attack. Nope, it's not attacking. Passing the turn. 3 lands open here. There's a Swords to Plowshares. Ooh, and now he's got to start discarding cards. 8 cards in hand for him. And what are you going to do? I mean, one of the things you could try is say, I'm going to animate exactly my factory. And if Buddy animates his factory, you can use the Swords to destroy it. But that's not happening. Buddy dropping to 14. And now Wouter has to discard, so has to make a tough decision. What to put in the graveyard. Disenchant in the yard. Passing the turn. Yeah, it's tough. It's a tough decision. It has a very good hand. But no lands. There's a Chain Lightning. Ooh, he's going to take the damage. Not going to prevent it. Could have chosen to prevent the damage, and then of course Buddy would have attacked probably with the factory deal too. I actually thought that was his idea, but Wouter not doing it. Again, 8 cards. Gonna animate again, gonna attack. There's a Bolt. Oh, and this is a really good lightning bolt because, I mean, Wouter already light on lands, now went from 3 lands to 2 lands. And now he is going to bolt Buddy back. Beautiful lightning bolt, by the way, Wouter. Very experienced one. Buddy now on 11. And Buddy now has a free attack with his factory. Not going to take it, though. Ooh, a Mountain Yeti. I love this. Mountain Yeti from the sideboard. 3/3. Mountain Walk, protection from white. I repeat, protection from white. So that lightning bolt that Wouter just played out, he really needs it now, but I don't think it's in his hand. Those 2 Swords to Plowshares are useless. And Wouter just cannot find any lands. But I do believe you can use your COP Red actually against the Mountain Yeti. But I'm not 100% sure, but I think you can. But we'll see what happens next turn. 8 cards in hand for Wouter, has to discard again. And he's really in a difficult position. He's actually going to discard the Fireball and passes the turn. Yeah, I mean, not finding any lands. And this is tough for Wouter. There's the attack. He's going to prevent the damage. Exactly, that works. There's another red threat in the form of a Granite Gargoyle. But of course, this Gargoyle can be killed with the Swords to Plowshares. But, yeah, that's a plateau, right? Exactly. So you can use the plateau to kill the Gargoyle. Another Swords. Yeah, and this is getting kind of annoying for Wouter. Really not finding any lands. And I think if your buddy just keep playing threats, force Wouter to use up all of his Swords to Plowshares there. Okay, and this is really good, the statue, because it's an artifact creature. So the COP Red doesn't work, but of course there are more than enough Swords to Plowshares there. We see it. It does mean, of course, that Buddy goes up in life now on 16. There's an Often Troll for him. Passing the turn back here to Buddy. Let's see what Buddy can do. Wouter still on 12. There's the attack. Of course, COP Red again. Tapping 3. Okay, there's a Gargoyle again. Passing the turn. Again, we see a Swords to Plowshares. And I mean, this is not bad because it means that at a certain point, if Buddy decides to start attacking with the factory, he has a bigger chance of inflicting some damage. We do, of course, do we still see a Disenchant in hand for Wouter? I believe we do, behind the Serra Angels there. Just a little side note, of course, that those creatures that have been Swords to Plowshares shared should be removed from the game. Right, they're now in the graveyard, but they should be removed from the game. There's the attack. It's gonna tap 4. What are we gonna see for 4? Okay, there's a Rook Egg. And there's the pass. Ooh, finally some lands. Another Plains can now play out the Often Troll. But if he does, he's going to take some damage, right? Because he has to tap out. So that means you're going to take 3 damage from the Yeti. Decides not to. I think that's a good decision. Just passes the turn. Another Mountain. I mean, I think if you're Buddy, you can now kind of decide to attack with your factory. There's the attack with the Yeti. And again, of course, the COP Red preventing the damage. Gonna tap 6. Are we gonna see Shivan Dragon? I love it, man. 5/5 flyer, such a beautiful creature. But it's not gonna do much against the COP Red. COP Red is really winning the game here. For, well, winning, but keeping Wouter alive. Long enough to find some lands. There's land number 4, Mishra's Factory. The problem, of course, for Wouter is that he kind of burned through his Swords to Plowshares, and understandably so, because you don't want to discard cards. But the problem now is that even if you get to 5 mana, you can play your Serra, but then you've got this huge Shivan Dragon that you need to deal with. And I think if I would be Buddy here, I would start animating my factory. And then if Wouter uses a disenchant on that, that's great because that means that your disc has a higher chance of sticking around. Attacking here with the Yeti and the Shivan Dragon. So probably just going to see a COP red activation for 2 here. Kind of talking here about the Shivan, but I think what you have to do here is pretty clear, right? Just use your COP red, that's what they're made for. So preventing the damage of both creatures. And now let's see what Buddy can do in his second main. If Buddy, for example, has a Chain Lightning or a Fireball or something, he could just decide to destroy his own Rook Egg to get a 4/4 Flying Birds token. The problem, of course, is that that bird token is also red. I mean, Buddy's kind of in a tough situation, right? Because even if you have a disc, okay, you play the disc. Let's say Wouter doesn't disenchant it, which he probably will because he has disenchant. But let's say he doesn't, then still it's not great. Okay, there we see a Fireball on his own Rook Egg. And a Fork to deal 4 damage here to Wouter. And Wouter actually not preventing the damage here. And that really surprises me. Not preventing the damage from the Fireball. He's still at 2 mana open, right? He could have prevented the damage. I'm a little bit puzzled here that he doesn't. Maybe I'm missing something. But he's on 9 now. Really cool token, by the way. The Rook Egg token by Buddy. But yeah, that he just took that 4 damage. Why did he do that? Discarding here the Armageddon, and here what you see happening here is I've seen this before with players that play a COP red against a red deck. You're kind of being held hostage because you need to keep the mana open to use your COP red, so you cannot play anything out. And if you play anything out, you're probably going to end up in a world of hurt and pain. So it makes sense that Wouter doesn't play anything out. And in a way, this makes it easier for Buddy to kind of work on his board. And I guess the card that you have to be really afraid of if you're Buddy is Balance here. Look at this. Now he's animating the factory as well. Going to swing in for 4. And this is interesting, right? Because if you're Wouter and you're disenchanting the factory, it means you can only prevent 2 creatures from dealing damage. I would still disenchant, by the way, but that means you would drop to 6. So here we see disenchant on factory. Probably going to use your 2 open mana to prevent the damage from the 2 flyers. The Shivan and the bird. Yes, going to take 3 from the Mountain Yeti. Drop to 6. So it's going slow. But Buddy is slowly heading towards victory here. Are we going to see a double bolt? There's a Fork on the disenchant. Destroying COP red number 1. But we know that Wouter, of course, has COP red number 2 in his hand. Probably going to see him deploy that now. The problem for Wouter, well, is that a problem? No, he still has 3 lands open to prevent the damage from the red creature. So there's the second COP red. That has to be tough for Buddy. I do love that play, Fork the disenchant. That's a classic way, of course, of red players to deal with the COP red. There's the attack, going to prevent the damage. Going to tap 3. There's a Nevinyrral's disc. Ooh, I mean, the thing is with the disc, yes, it destroys the COP red, but at what cost? You're going to lose all your creatures. That's, of course, the big problem. He's going to pass the turn. So the disc is untapped. I mean, I guess if you're Buddy, what you want to do now is wait until you have a Fireball, and then you just pop the disc. So there we see Buddy here. There's a Rook Egg. I mean, Wouter using the COP red and Buddy playing a Rook Egg here. And that Rook Egg is looking mighty good in combination with the Nevinyrral's disc. And And I think if you're Buddy, what you want to do here is at the end of the second main phase of Wouter, you want to pop the disc so you get that 4/4 flyer. And he is going to pop the disc already, quite aggressive. I think I would have waited. Right, because you can simply just pass a turn, see what Wouter wants to do, and then pop the disc at the beginning of his end step. So that you get your bird token, and you can start attacking with it. But he's made a different choice, and now I think we're going to see that Sarah Angel that's been in the hand of Wouter for so long. He has actually 2 Sarahs in hand, so Wouter could end up taking over the game here. And of course he's on 6 though, because remember Buddy is playing with 4 lightning bolts and 4 chains as well. And he's still very high up with 18. But more cards in hand here for Wouter. And he's got enough mana to play them all out. He's really in the tank here. I think I would just deploy the Sarah, right? You need a blocker for your bird token. There's the Sarah. Untap, upkeep, and draw. Ooh, there's a fireball. Oh, an earthquake. Yeah, winning it here with that earthquake. And what an intense game number 2. But I'm really, really happy. Why? Because it's 1-1. And that means we're going to go to an all-deciding game number 3. Game number 3. Here we go. On the left, we have Wouter. He's, of course, on the play after losing that second game. And let's see who's going to win this first match of round number 1. And I have to say I'm really enjoying this matchup thus far. It's a back and forth match. And there we see a Chain Lightning on the Savannah lines of Wouter and a pass. Let's see what Wouter can do in his second turn. We see 2 Mishra's Factories, a Granite Gargoyle, a Swords to Plowshares, a Lightning Bolt, and a City of Brass in hand for Wouter. Buddy here deploying 2 Goblin Balloon Brigades. 1/1 creatures, and for 1 red, the creature can give itself flying. And now, of course, Wouter can play out that Granite Gargoyle. That would be a great blocker for both of these Balloon Brigades. He's going to tap 3. There we see the 2/2 flyer. 1 red, give it +0/+1. And I think if you're Buddy here, you really want to have another Chain Lightning or Bolt to take care of that Gargoyle. Tapping 3 though, his own Gargoyle here. Granite Gargoyle for Buddy as well. There's a Swords to Plowshares, so could decide to Swords the Gargoyle here and attack for 2. Has that second factory in hand as well, playing out another land, the City of Brass. It's going to tap the red. It's going to use the Lightning Bolt on the Granite Gargoyle. I think maybe I would have used the Swords because remember the Mountain Yeti we saw in game 2? Of course you cannot Swords that, so maybe I would have chosen to go for the Bolt instead. Sorry, for the Swords instead of the Bolt. And there you go, there it is, that's Karma. There we see the Mountain Yeti, 3/3 protection from white. And I'm sure if you're Wouter, you now wish that you still had that Lightning Bolt. Because there's such a good and clean answer on the Mountain Yeti. There we see the second factory being played out by Wouter. There's the 2/2 attack. I'm going to put Buddy here on 16. There's a pass. Buddy attacking here with the 3/3. Ooh, and actually also with the 2 Goblin Balloon Brigades. So kind of pretending, or maybe he does have, that's a big question. To have like removal for the factories, right? Saying, you know what, Wouter, if you want to animate your factories. Could, of course, use one of the swords to take care of the Goblin Blue Brigade, but that feels kind of bad, doesn't it, to trade the swords for just a 1/1 creature. And I think that's actually one of the best ways to battle these white removal spells, right? Just play out a lot of cheap threats. And then they have to make difficult decisions. So firing off the swords on one of the two balloon brigades. So Buddy going up to 17 and Wouter taking 4 damage, drop to 16. I'm gonna tap a red, gonna animate the factory or attack with both. Factory and gargoyle into the red zone. There's a shatter though on the Mishra's factory, so factory dying. And here's a lightning bolt. I'm not sure if I would have done this because I think Wouter can save it, right? The card with all the glare is a plateau, exactly. So gonna pay 2 red. It's a 2/4, so it doesn't die to the bolt. Perhaps a bit of a misplay here by Buddy. And now he's going to draw his card for turn. Can of course still attack with the Yeti here. He can put Wouter on 12, attacking also with the Balloon Brigades. So that would put Wouter on 11, unless he decides to use his second swords as well against the Balloon Brigade. Yeah, Wouter in the tank here. Gonna tap the plateau. Okay, animate the factory. Wants to block, but I think the Balloon Brigade got flying. So he cannot block the Balloon Brigade exactly. Gonna take it back. Can of course still play that swords, destroy the Balloon Brigade. And he's gonna play the sword, so destroying the Balloon Brigade. That means 3 points of damage for Wouter. And actually Buddy should go to 18 here, forgetting to add the life. Ooh, that's a fireball from the top. This fireball is great for Wouter. First attacking here, Buddy 15 can now deploy fireball, destroy that Yeti. I would definitely destroy the Yeti here. Let's see if Wouter agrees. Yep, he does. There's the fireball. Are we going to see a fork here? No fork. I mean, that would have been cool. If Buddy had a fork, he could fork it and kill the Granite Gargoyle on the side of Wouter. And I mean, Buddy now does have kind of a clean attack with his own factory. But it looks like he's going to do something else. Tapping 4. Okay, there's the clay statue. 3/1 artifact creature with regeneration for 2. There's a plateau from the top for Wouter. Has, of course, that Spirit Link in hand still. Could Spirit Link the statue. Gonna animate here. Gonna attack with both. Gonna offer the trade. But Buddy not taking the trade. Dropping to 11. Yeah, there's the Spirit Link on the statue. And again, I like this order of plays by Wouter. First attacking, see if he takes the trade. If he doesn't, play the Spirit Link. So Buddy on 11. Wouter on 12. Yeah, Wouter, I mean, Buddy is really more on the back foot here, I feel. Has to find a way to deal with the Granite Gargoyle. And of course, the Often Troll is not going to do that for him. 2/2. And 1 red regenerate. More land found from the top, I believe, for Wouter. Yeah, and I think if you're Wouter, I would just be tempted to keep attacking. Let's put him on 9, past turn. There's the attack. So Buddy dropping to 9. Passing the turn, untap, upkeep, draw. Let's see what Buddy can do. There's the 2/2 attack. Animating here. And he's going to block. Animate pump. And there's the regeneration by the Often Troll. So no bolt, no shatter. There's the Rook Egg. 0/3 creature from Arabian Nights. And when the Rook Egg dies, you get a 4/4 bird token in your next end step. There's the attack for 2 again. I mean, Buddy's still dying to this Granite Gargoyle. That's really the problem here this game for Buddy. On 7 already, that Gargoyle has done so much work. And Wouter here also playing an often troll of his own. Oi, oi, oi. 2-2 regenerator now also on the side of Wouter. There's the pass. Let's see what Buddy can do. I mean, he's on 7. He's got a couple more turns, but every turn that Gargoyle is eating away at his life total. Oh, Earthquake for 3. Wow, this is quite nice. Earthquake for 3. That's going to kill, of course, his Rook Egg. That's exactly what he wants. So he's going to regenerate the often troll. Both players are going to regenerate their often trolls, I guess. Or not. Buddy kind of in the tank here. Ooh, look at that. He's going to let his often troll die. Of course, Spirit Link falls off as well. Both players take 3 damage, so Buddy drops to 4. Exactly, going to drop to 4 here. Yeah, but this lightning bolt is not going to work. Why not bolt the Granite Gargoyle here? I'm a little surprised about this move. If you bolt the Gargoyle, exactly, he's now thinking about doing something else. Players talking about it, perhaps Buddy not aware that you can have another regeneration shield. Or maybe he didn't see the City of Brass. But this is a pretty big deal because what I would do here obviously is bolt the Gargoyle because he only has a City of Brass. He can make it a 2-3. So I would bolt the Gargoyle here and then you can... Exactly. Bolt the Gargoyle and then... That changes everything, right? So... So both players now having a discussion. Yeah, and the Gargoyle now dies. Quite nice of Wouter to let Buddy take it back here. And now the often troll is on the board. And this is a big difference here. Because now, of course, Buddy has a 4-4 flyer. Ooh, look at that hand, though. From the top, found another Granite Gargoyle. The Gargoyles are really the MVPs of this match so far. There's another Gargoyle here for Wouter. But this is such an interesting game. Wouter on 9, Buddy on 4. Finding another card there from the top. Top decks can be very decisive here. I wonder what it is. 4-4 Flying Bird and a Mishra's Factory on the side of Buddy. Granite Gargoyle, often troll, and a Mishra's Factory on the side of Wouter. 2 cards for him. One of those is a land, I believe. The other one I don't know. And 1 card for Buddy. If he animates the factory, attacks with everything. Well, Buddy has a blocker as well. Yeah, that's not going to work. No, that's not a good plan. I forgot about that factory on the side of Buddy. Okay, he's animating it. Does that mean that he's got a disenchant or a swords or something in hand? Attacking with everything here. Gonna animate, of course. Gonna block. Gonna pump. Gonna go down to 2. Does Wouter have a bolt and he can win the game? Gargoyle survives. No, he doesn't have a bolt or a disenchant. I was really expecting to see a disenchant on the factory of Buddy or a bolt on the life total of Buddy, but it didn't happen. Buddy's still very much alive. He's on 2 though. 2 cards in hand for Buddy. What is he gonna do? There's a Disintegrate. Yeah, then you cannot regenerate, so Disintegrate killing the often troll. Then he can attack you for 2. It's going to attack with both. Okay. Why would you attack with both? Yeah, I think he's making a mistake here. Exactly. Just attacking with one. I was looking at the wrong life total. That's... Buddy, stay focused. Maybe it's nice to know for the people watching this match. You think, hey, I know Buddy. That name rings a bell. Buddy is actually an old school Magic artist. And he makes amazing altars. And sometimes he also plays Magic. Well, he plays Magic quite a lot, like today here. But you can find his work on Viking altars on Instagram. He's going to tap a red. Yeah, again, this. Why would you bolt the... Buddy, come on, man, focus. Exactly, on the life total of Wouter. Wouter here on 4. And there's a Nevinyrral's disc passing the turn. Yeah, this is tough for Wouter. What can he find? A mountain. I mean, he's got a disenchant for the disc, but do you want to disenchant it? I don't think you do. He's gonna disenchant. I mean, the reason I'm saying I don't think you do is that you can keep your disenchant to deal with the factory. There we see the statue, clay statue, 3-1. Yeah, I think he should have kept the disenchant in hand. That's it, Buddy, winning it here. Wow, winning 2-1. What an extremely close match this was. And I think both players are being very friendly towards each other, right? Which is nice, which is the way I love to see an old school match go. Both players know each other quite well also. So, Buddy, congratulations, man. You're winning here with your red disc deck. And that was the first episode of the Dutch Open. Please join me again next time for more action from this tournament. And then you'll actually see me in action. And I'm playing an all Fallen Empires deck. So here you can see Occasion Town and also Hand of Justice, 2 cards that are in my deck. And my opponent is playing a White Weenie deck. So it's White Weenie versus White Weenie. But again, I'm limited to Fallen Empires only. So maybe maybe I'll get into trouble. Or just hope he plays a lot of Crusades and pumps my army. That would be quite nice. Anyway, you can see that next time. Now, if you want to make sure you don't miss that, please hit the subscribe button and ring that bell. And before you go, please take a moment to like, share, and comment on this video. All these things are free and really help the channel move forward. Talking about moving forward, you can also become a patron of the show. Check out patreon.com/Timmy Talks for all the information. And for now, thank you very much for watching and see you next time.
What shall we do with the drunken sailor? What shall we do with the drunken sailor? What shall we do with the drunken sailor? Early in the morning, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises. Early in the morning, putting in the longboat until he's sober, putting in the longboat until he's sober, putting in the longboat until he's sober. Early in the morning, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises. She rises early in the morning. Pull out the plug and wet him all over. Pull out the plug and wet him all over. Pull out the plug and wet him all over. Early in the morning. Way hey up she rises. Way hey up she rises. Way hey up she rises early in the morning. What shall we do with the drunken sailor? What shall we do with the drunken sailor? Put it in the scoundrel. 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 Early in the morning, way hey up she rises, way hey up she rises, way hey up she rises early in the morning.
Icketus, ficketus, somber, kazee.